The world calls your sensitivity a superpower, but your body knows the real cost. If you're ready to understand the story written in your nerves, subscribe to Wake and Win. Your liberation is waiting. They praise you for feeling so deeply, for sensing the unspoken. They say it's your gift. But I see a different history. I don't see a mystic. I see a survivor. A child who wasn't shielded had to become the family's early warning system. You didn't choose to absorb the atmosphere. You were drafted. When a parent is lost in their own storm, the child becomes the weather forecaster. You learn to read the room because the silence was loaded. You learn to soften the edges because sharpness meant danger. This isn't spirituality. It's adaptation. Your nervous system was enlisted in a conflict you never started. This deep perception wasn't a trait you were born with. It was a curriculum installed for survival. And the hardest part, the world rewards it. People compliment the very injury that formed you. They name it wisdom. They call it soulful. They turn your survival blueprint into a spiritual identity because it looks beautiful from the outside. They haven't paid the price you pay daily, in endless scanning, in mental exhaustion, in the automatic urge to shoulder burdens that were never yours to carry. So before we go deeper, we must move your story out of the realm of myth and into the light of day. Healing cannot start inside a fantasy. The truth is more direct, less poetic, and ultimately more freeing. You were conditioned. You were molded. This gift wasn't discovered. It was programmed. We start by removing the romantic filter. You may have spent years calling yourself an empath, maybe finding comfort in the idea that your sensitivity is a noble calling. And yes, there is a profound capacity within you. But the way it functions now, as an unstoppable tide, as a need to repair, as a failure to distinguish your own spirit from the emotions of others, isn't a higher state. It's a structural requirement built into the framework of your mind before you had words to object. You aren't just perceptive. You are wired for alertness. This is the critical difference. Perception allows you to experience the world richly. Alertness forces you to constantly scout for hazards. And for you, the hazard wasn't a wild animal. It was the unpredictable emotional climate of the very people who should have been your sanctuary. Think of the environment of your earliest memories. A child arrives completely dependent. This isn't optional. It's biology. The child needs the caregiver not just for food and shelter, but for regulation, for the calibration of their own nervous system. A stable adult soothes a distressed child and, in doing so, teaches that child's body that the world is secure, that feelings are endurable, that they exist as a separate, legitimate being. But this wasn't your classroom. You entered a system where the adults were perhaps physically there, but psychologically elsewhere, or worse, psychologically invasive. Maybe there was a mother swallowed by her own unmet longings, her own fears, her own hunger for recognition. Maybe a father was emotionally unpredictable, his mood dominating the home's psychic space like low thunder. In such a world, the child faces a terrifying fact. The giants in their life are unsteady. To survive that instability, your young mind executed a brilliant, costly maneuver. You learned that to be a separate self, to have needs, to have big feelings, to possess your own reality was risky. It might trigger the volatile parent. It might overload the fragile parent. So you initiated the process of self-erasure. You learn to mute your own internal signals and boost your reception of external ones. This is the origin of the empathic mechanism you wrestle with now. It wasn't a flowering of spirit. It was a collapse of borders. Your safety hinged entirely on your skill in predicting and managing the inner weather of others. You became a human gauge. You learned to note the slight shift in a parent's tone that meant anger was coming. You learned to interpret the drag in a parent's walk that signaled a depressive retreat. You learned to shapeshift into whatever the room demanded. The mediator, the entertainer, the ghost, the therapist. Because your nervous system figured out a brutal lesson early on: stability wasn't a given. It was a currency you had to earn. This was the training. It was relentless. It was daily. It demanded your total focus. You were conditioned to believe your worth, and indeed, your survival depended on your usefulness to the family's emotional economy. You weren't loved for being you. You were needed for what you provided. You were needed to hold the unspoken parts. In psychology, the shadow is all that a person or family refuses to see in itself: the shame, the rage, the sorrow. In a healthy family, adults process their own shadows. In your family, the shadow was cast outward, and you, the receptive child, became its vessel. You became the container for the family's unease. You carried the grief your mother wouldn't weep. You held the shame your father masked with fury. You absorbed it into your small frame because you knew, at a level no child should, a brutal rule: if the system falls apart, the child does not make it. And so you learned a confusing equation that lasts to this day: the mix up between closeness and consumption. You learned that love meant sharing the weight. You learned that connection meant assuming another's pain, fixing their issues, steadying their emotions for them. You learned that a boundary saying, "This is yours, not mine," was an act of disloyalty. That's why, as an adult, you feel a jolt of fear or guilt when you try to say no. When you try to step back from another's emergency, your nervous system reads that boundary not as health, but as exile. You're not fighting a habit. You're fighting a primal imprint. This training didn't end when you left home. That's the tragedy of the unconscious pattern. As one thinker said, when an inner situation isn't made conscious, it appears outside as fate. Because this system of high, alert and emotional absorption became the bedrock of your personality, you took it into the world. You entered adulthood with a nervous system preset to scan and ingest. And because the psyche seeks what it knows, you unconsciously found partners, friends, and leaders who felt familiar. Familiar doesn't mean good. It means recognizable. You found the self-absorbed partner who needed an audience. You found the distant partner who needed pursuing. You found the turbulent friend who needed rescuing. You didn't pick them because you're flawed. You picked them because your training recognized them. They were the lock, and you were the key. This brings us to the gift itself. You've been complimented for listening well, for being so insightful, for being an old soul. People admire these qualities, but we must look at what they truly cost you. When you're the good listener for someone who never asks about your world, You're replaying the childhood role of becoming the container. When you're so understanding of poor behavior, excusing disloyalty again and again, you're replaying the childhood need to justify a parent's harshness to keep the bond. And when you're called an old soul, it's often because you were never permitted to be young. You were made into a little adult. You were tasked with carrying mature emotional loads before your shoulders were strong enough. This praise from the world is often the reinforcement of your wound. It's society clapping for your self-betrayal. And that is why you are tired. The exhaustion you feel, that deep bone level fatigue sleep doesn't fix, isn't merely physical. It's psychic depletion. It's the exhaustion of a nervous system running a high voltage current of hyper alertness for 20, 30, 40 years. It's the exhaustion of living a life that isn't your own. You've carried the unlived lives of your parents, and then the unlived lives of partners and friends. You've functioned like a psychic filter, taking in toxins from other people's emotional streams so they can stay unaware while you're left emptied, anxious, and mysteriously unwell. The cruel twist is this: the more you give, the more you drain yourself. The more you drain yourself, the more you believe you must give to earn your place. It's a cycle that ends in collapse, burnout, bitterness, numbness, and the sudden desire to disappear from everyone. But this collapse isn't failure. It's a correction. It's your soul staging a revolt against the training program. And before we move into the change that's starting, we must understand the mother wound and the father wound not as ideas, but as living architectures inside your body. The mother wound in the empath is often a lack of membrane. The mother is the first world. If the mother is anxious, intrusive, or empty, the child doesn't develop a psychological skin, a border that says, I end here and you begin there. The child stays in a state of unconscious merging. If your mother needed you to be her emotional companion, her comfort, her mirror, her purpose, she quietly taught you that your independence caused her distress. Every time you tried to separate, to have a private thought, to be different, she may have pulled away her affection or collapsed. So, you learned a terrible formula: to be apart is to be annihilated. To survive, you stayed merged. You learned to monitor another person's face to know if you were still allowed to exist. That's why in adult bonds, conflict or quiet can feel like extinction. You aren't reacting as a grown adult. You're reacting as the infant whose nervous system believes it might be dropped. The father wound often shows up as a lack of backbone. The father archetype stands for authority, safety, structure, and the bridge to the outer world. If the father was domineering, harsh, or absent, the child doesn't internalize inner authority. You don't learn you have the right to occupy space, to defend yourself, to have a voice. Instead, you learn to shrink, to dodge the giant's anger, or to be flawless to earn a scrap of notice. Without a protective father, the empath often develops intuition as a replacement for defense. You can't protect yourself with force, so you protect yourself with foresight. You try to outmaneuver danger by sensing it early. This leaves you as an adult who is amazingly aware and yet deeply afraid of direct confrontation. You can feel when someone crosses a line, but you lack the internal framework, the backbone, to stop them. You rely on them to be decent rather than relying on yourself to be firm. And so the empathic structure is built. No membrane to keep others out, and no backbone to hold yourself up. You become a porous container, open to every energy that passes, rooted only in the changing approval of others. For a long while this worked. It kept you safe as a child. It won you friends. It made you a desirable worker. It drew partners who adored being adored without giving back. The training program was a success by the standards of the dysfunction that created it. But something is shifting. You're here because the program is starting to glitch. The strategies that kept you secure as a child are now smothering you as an adult. The silence you once used to maintain peace now feels like a cage. The giving that once made you feel valuable now makes you bitter. You start to notice the imbalance in your relationships. You look at the people you've supported, listened to, rescued, only to realize they don't do the same for you. You start to see you're lonely in a room full of people who say they care. This realization hurts, but it's sacred. It's the awakening of the self, the part of you sacrificed to the training program, demanding to live. Now we must look at projection. You've long been the screen where others cast their needs. The self-absorbed person projects their hunger for admiration onto you, and you accept it. The victim projects their need for rescue onto you, and you accept it. But you must also face your own projections. You've projected your power onto others by constantly managing them, by taking accountability for their feelings. You've unconsciously given them God, like authority over your inner world. You told yourself, if I can keep them content, I will be safe. You made their mood your climate. You made their approval your air. This is the hidden deal of the empath. I will manage your emotions through pleasing you so you won't hurt me. It's a covert attempt at control, born not of malice but of terror. And seeing this isn't to shame you, it's to free you. As long as you think you're just a victim of other people's energy, you're powerless. But when you see how the psyche crafted this strategy to survive, you spot the exit. The training program taught you that you are responsible for other people's feelings. This is the lie that anchors the whole structure. You are not responsible for another person's inner climate, only for your own response to it. When you rush to fix someone's rage, to calm someone's anxiety before they've even faced it, you aren't just being kind. You're interfering with their necessary lessons. You're stopping them from confronting their own shadow. You're enabling their unconsciousness. And in doing so, you trap yourself forever in the role of the eternal parent, never free to be the child, the lover, or the equal. You've lived serving the persona, the mask worn to adapt. Your persona is the helper, the saint, the giver. It's a beautiful mask, polished by years of applause. But the persona isn't the self. The persona is a bargain between the individual and society. And when the ego clings too tightly to the persona, everything else is shoved into the shadow. Your anger, your hunger, your need for agency, your wish to be cared for, your longing to be held, all of it pushed into the cellar. But the shadow doesn't stay buried. It scratches at the floor. It shows up as irritation, as mysterious illness, as sudden numbness, as depression. Depression isn't always a breakdown. Often, it's the unlived life demanding to be seen. It's the soul asking, when is it my turn? This is why the mask is cracking now. The training program is malfunctioning. You try the old tricks, smiling, agreeing, absorbing, but your body won't cooperate. Your battery is dead. And this is terrifying because the program tells you if you stop performing, you will die. But you aren't dying. You're undergoing a deconstruction. The false self built to survive the family conflict is coming apart. The anxiety you feel isn't always the anxiety of danger. It's often the anxiety of rebirth. It's the dizziness of standing on your own 2 feet after a lifetime of leaning. And now we come to the unconscious contract. Every relationship you have runs on terms signed by your trauma, not your conscious mind. The contract says, I will give and you will take. I will listen and you will speak. I will bend and you will stay rigid. I will feel your pain and you will ignore mine. You signed this because it was the only form of attachment your nervous system understood. But now you see the price. You wait for the other person to change the terms, to suddenly say, you've given enough, now let me give to you. But they don't. Why would they? The system works perfectly for them. You carry their load. They stay comfortable. The change won't come from them. It can only come from you. But tearing up the contract isn't an administrative task. It's a psychic earthquake. It triggers the deepest fear of the abandonment wound. It feels like you're becoming bad. And the training program has one final weapon to stop you: guilt. Each time you put your own needs first, the program floods you with guilt to force you back into line. That guilt isn't moral truth. It's conditioning. It's the voice of the internalized parent whispering, how dare you? To break free, you must learn to tolerate guilt without obeying it. You must learn to sit in the fire of feeling wrong while doing what's right for your soul. You stand at the doorway to a new way of being, and the old way won't let go without a fight. The neural pathways of self-betrayal are carved deep. The people around you are used to your compliance. Whole structures of your life were built upon your absence. And when you start to return to yourself, the foundations tremble. This asks for a new courage. Not the courage to endure pain, which you already have in abundance, but the courage to disappoint. The courage to let people be angry with you. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to be called selfish. The courage to withdraw your emotional labor from those who built their comfort on your overworking. For the first time, you're being asked to do what was forbidden in childhood, to belong to yourself. As you begin to sense this internal deconstruction, you might notice a strange phenomenon in your outer world. The people around you are becoming unsteady. This isn't accidental. It's a systemic reaction to your shift. Think of a mobile hanging from the ceiling. If one piece moves, the whole structure swings and tilts. You're trying to find a new balance. You've been the counterweight in your family and relationship systems for years. You held the heavy end so others could float. Now that you're cautiously stepping back, stopping the absorption of excess emotion, that weight has to go somewhere. It falls back onto the people it belongs to, and they don't like it. They won't say, I'm uncomfortable because you're no longer carrying my shadow. They'll say, you've changed. They'll say, "You're being selfish." They'll say, "You're cold." They may accuse you of not loving them anymore. This is repetition compulsion in action. The system is trying to force you back into your old role. It's applying pressure to the very spots it knows are tender: your fear of being bad, your fear of abandonment. This is why the guilt feels so overpowering right now. It's the system's immune response attacking the virus of your individuation. You're breaking the unspoken agreement, and the system sees this as a threat to its survival. Let's look at a tiny scene that probably feels familiar. You're on the phone with a parent or sibling. They start to unload a familiar complaint about a neighbor, a boss, another relative. In the past, your role was to join in, to validate, to offer fixes, to co-manage their upset. You'd make soothing sounds. You'd get indignant for them. You'd spend an hour taking in their poison so they could hang up feeling lighter, while you spent the rest of the night feeling heavy and anxious. But today you do something different. You listen, but you don't merge. You say, "That sounds tough," but you don't offer to solve it. You don't match their emotional pitch. You stay in your own body. What happens next? The silence on the other end changes texture. It becomes prickly. They might escalate the drama, trying to hook you back in. They might ask, "Are you even listening?" They might suddenly end the call with a clipped, cold tone. When you hang up, you feel a surge of panic. Did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? This panic is the training program sounding the alarm. But watch what really happened. You remain separate. You let them keep their own experience. You didn't abandon them. You simply refused to be their emotional dumping ground. The discomfort they felt was the sensation of their own unprocessed emotion bouncing back because you were no longer a sponge. This isn't cruelty. This is the start of a respectful boundary. This withdrawal of your energy is the most powerful thing you can do. But it's also the most misunderstood. You aren't withdrawing love. You're withdrawing projection. You're withdrawing the artificial support that let them stay unconscious of their own behavior. As long as you were over-functioning, they could under-function. As long as you were anticipating their needs, they never had to voice them. As long as you were absorbing their consequences, they never had to learn from them. Your help was, in many ways, a wall to their growth. By stepping back, you are handing their life back to them. This is a heavy gift, and they'll likely resent you for it at first. But it's the only path to a real relationship, one between two adults, not between a host and a dependent. The father complex plays a big role here. If your internal concept of authority is projected onto others, you'll constantly feel like a child asking for permission to be yourself. You're waiting for the father, the boss, the partner, the world to validate your existence. When you start to withdraw your projection, you begin to see that you are the authority of your own experience. This is a frightening realization, because it means there's no one else to blame. If you stay in a draining conversation, it's because you chose to stay. If you say yes when you mean no, it's because you chose the lie. Reclaiming your authority means accepting responsibility for your own borders. It means seeing that no is a complete sentence, not an opening for negotiation. the mother complex is equally active. The deep, ancient hunger for the good mother, the one who sees you, holds you, anticipates your needs, is often what drives you to do those very things for others. You're unconsciously treating others the way you desperately wish to be treated, hoping that by modeling this behavior, someone will finally reflect it back. This is a trap of magical thinking. You're trying to earn mothering by mothering. But the people you're mothering are usually incapable of giving back because they were drawn to you specifically, because they wanted a mother, not to be one. To heal this, you must stop projecting the good mother onto the world and start to mother yourself. This means attending to your own nervous system with the same tenderness you've lavished on others. It means noticing when you're tired and actually resting. It means noticing when you're hungry and eating. It means validating your own feelings without needing someone else to agree. Consider another scene. You're with a partner or close friend. You've had a hard day. You want to talk about it. You start to share. But within 2 minutes, they've taken over the conversation and turned it back to themselves. The old you would have swallowed the disappointment, reasoned they're just stressed, and pivoted to listening. You would have left yourself to stay linked to them. The new, awakening you feels a physical sensation of revulsion or heat in the chest. You stop talking. You don't pivot. You look at them and see them clearly, not as a broken bird needing love, but as an adult being self-centered. You may not say anything in that moment, but an internal shift happens. You withdraw your investment. You stop pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. This internal withdrawal is louder than any shout. They will feel it. They will sense the unlimited supply of attention has been cut off. This phase of cutting the supply is critical. You are reclaiming your energy. For years, your energy has been leaking out of 1,000 tiny holes. The worry about your sibling, the predicting of your boss's mood, the managing of your partner's ego. As you plug these holes, as you stop the automatic outflow, your energy begins to pool back inside you. This can feel strange. It can feel like pressure. You might feel restless, agitated, or incredibly furious. This anger is good. It's sacred rage. It's the life force suppressed for decades now rushing back. It's the part of you that loves you, fighting off the invaders. Don't judge this anger. Don't try to be spiritual and bypass it. Let it burn. It's the fuel you need to build a new structure. However, this reclamation brings you face to face with the void. When you stop obsessing over others, when you stop managing the external chaos, you're left with the quiet of your own life. And you may find your own life feels barren, ignored, or full of pain you've been avoiding. This is why many empaths rush back to the chaotic dynamic, because the pain of the self is harder to bear than the pain of the other. It's easier to fix someone else's life than to face the ruin of your own unlived years. It's easier to be a martyr than to be a beginner. But you must stay in the void. You must sit in the ruin. This is the alchemical stage of blackening, the breakdown. It's where the old ego dies so the true self can be born. You'll find your tolerance for drama drops to zero. Things you used to tolerate, gossip, complaining, passive-aggressive comments, now feel physically intolerable to your nervous system. You might find yourself unable to sit through a dinner you would have endured a year ago. You might walk out of rooms, end calls, cancel plans. This isn't you being difficult. This is your nervous system finally coming online and doing its job detecting toxins and starting a rejection response. For years, you were immunocompromised. You let everything in. Now you have antibodies. This is where the good girl or good boy persona dies. You realize good was just another word for compliant. You no longer want to be good. You want to be real. You want to be whole. Wholeness includes the capacity to be disagreeable. It includes the capacity to disappoint others, to be true to yourself. As one philosopher said, I would rather be whole than good. To be whole is to own your shadow, your capacity for selfishness, for assertion, for distance. Paradoxically, owning your capacity for distance is what makes your closeness genuine. If you can't close the door, your open door is meaningless. If you can't say no, your yes is fake. As you move through this transition, you'll likely go through a time of deep solitude. The old connections are falling away because they were based on a contract you no longer honor. New connections haven't formed yet. You're in the hallway between doors. This is the hermit phase. Don't panic. Don't rush to fill the space. This solitude is protected space. It's the cocoon where your new nervous system is weaving itself together. In this silence, you're learning to hear your own voice again, distinct from the voices of your parents, your partners, your culture. You're learning to tell what's yours and what's theirs. You're starting to see that empathy without borders is self-destruction. True empathy requires a strong self. You can only truly feel with another if you know you are not the other. Otherwise, it's just contagion. You're moving from emotional contagion, I catch your virus, to conscious empathy. I see your pain. I honor it, but I do not take it into my body. This shift changes everything. It changes how you love. It changes how you work. It changes how you exist in your own skin. The fear of being bad will rear up one last time. It will scream that you're becoming self-absorbed. This is the shadow's final trick. The fact you're worried about being self-absorbed is proof you aren't. A self-absorbed person doesn't worry about that. They worry about not being admired. You're simply moving from a place of self-erasure to a place of self-preservation. This isn't narcissism, it's sanity. You are retrieving the projection of value. You are realizing you aren't here to be a resource for others. You're here to live your own story, to bear your own weight, to follow your own guide. The training was meant to make you a moon orbiting someone else's planet. The gravity of that old system is strong. It will try to pull you back. But you've seen the truth now. You've seen the wires. You've felt the cost. And once you've seen the machine, you can't unsee it. You can pretend, but you can't forget. The extraction has begun. We must now face the hardest part of this change, the silence that follows the withdrawal. When you finally stop doing the emotional work for your family, your partner, or your job, you don't immediately feel free. You feel hollow. You feel a strange, vibrating lack of purpose. This is because your nervous system has been addicted to the high voltage frequency of crisis. For decades, your biochemistry has been flooded with stress hormones triggered by the constant need to scan, predict, and manage the instability of others. You've lived in a state of high alert that you mistook for being alive. When you step out of the war zone, the peace doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like death. It feels like boredom. This boredom is dangerous ground. It's in this vacuum that the urge to relapse is strongest. You'll find yourself unconsciously seeking chaos just to feel normal again. You might pick a fight. You might obsess over a small comment. You might scroll the news looking for tragedy. You might reach out to that toxic ex just to see if they're thinking of you. This isn't because you want pain. It's because your psyche is terrified of the stillness. In the stillness, you are forced to meet yourself without the distraction of a project. You are forced to feel your own feelings instead of processing someone else's. And for the empath, feeling one's own feelings is often far scarier than feeling the world's pain. Why? Because your own feelings are likely full of ancient, unmetabolized grief. They're full of the rage of the child who was left alone. They're full of the shame of the adolescent who was used. As long as you're busy saving someone else, you can keep the lid on your own internal pressure cooker. The helper persona is often a defense against your own brokenness. It's a way of saying, I am the strong one. I am the doctor, not the patient. As long as you're the doctor, you don't have to get on the examination table. But when you stop doctoring, you realize you are bleeding. This brings us to a deeper layer of the shadow of the giver. We often think of the empath as purely altruistic, a victim of their own kindness. But depth psychology asks us to look for the power dynamic hidden within the virtue. There is a subtle, unconscious power in being the one who gives, the one who understands, the one who forgives. It places you in a position of moral high ground. It keeps you in control. If I am the one managing your emotions, then I am the one holding the steering wheel of the relationship. I make myself indispensable to you, which ensures you can't leave me. This is the shadow side of your empathy. It's a covert strategy to secure attachment and control the environment. You give to get safety. You give to buy immunity from abandonment. Acknowledging this doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a conscious one. It frees you from the trap of victimhood. As long as you tell yourself, I just give too much because I'm so good, you are helpless to change. The moment you admit, I give to control the outcome and soothe my own anxiety, you take back the reins. You see that your overgiving was a survival strategy, not a moral command. And strategies can be changed. Let's look at the mechanics of the power shift when you stop playing this game. In any relationship system, a marriage, a family, a friendship, there's a distribution of psychological weight. In your dynamics, you've been carrying the shadow weight. You carry the responsibility, the guilt, the emotional awareness, the memory of past hurts. The other person has been allowed to float, light and unburdened, often acting like an eternal teenager. They can afford to be careless because you are so careful. They can afford to be forgetful because you remember everything. They can afford to be emotionally reckless because you are the safety net. When you decide to stop, when you stop reminding, soothing, fixing, anticipating, you are effectively stepping off your end of the seesaw. what happens? Physics takes over. The other person hits the ground. The weight of their own life, their own choices, their own emotions crashes down on them. They are suddenly forced to carry their own shadow. This is the moment of crisis. They will panic. They will claim you are letting them fall. They will try to manipulate you back into position with guilt or aggression. But you must understand, you aren't attacking them. You are simply ceasing to enable their dysfunction. You are returning their life to them. If they can't carry it, that is a sign of their own lack of development, not a failure of your love. Here's a tiny scene of this power shift. You're in the living room. The atmosphere is tense. Your partner or parent is storming around, radiating that familiar, sharp, chaotic energy that usually means an explosion is coming. In the past, your body would have already dissolved. You'd be up asking what's wrong, trying to fix something, apologizing for the weather, doing anything to lower the tension. Your heart would race, your mind scanning for the threat. But today you sit, you feel the tension. Yes, you register it as unpleasant energy, but you don't absorb it. You imagine a glass wall between you and them. You watch their storm like you'd watch a thunderstorm through a window. It's loud, it's dark, but it's outside. You stay in your seat. You keep reading your book or drinking your tea. You don't ask what's wrong, because you know if they want to tell you, they're adults who can use words. You don't offer to fix it. You keep your breathing slow and low. The result? The energy in the room has nowhere to land. It hits your glass wall and bounces back to them. They might get louder for a moment, trying to break the glass. But eventually, with no receptacle for their chaos, they are forced to either calm down or leave. They are left holding their own bag. And you feel a strange sensation in your chest. It's not happiness. It's not relaxation. It's solidity. You occupy your own space. You didn't leave yourself. This is the birth of the inner backbone. This solidity is what repels the self-absorbed person and the energy vampire. These personalities are looking for a host. They're looking for porosity. When they meet a solid object, someone who observes rather than absorbs, someone who responds rather than reacts, they are repelled. It's not satisfying for them. There's no hook. They can't play the game if you refuse to pick up the ball. This is why, as you heal, certain people will just fade from your life. No big fight, no dramatic breakup. They just stop calling. You're no longer a viable food source. On the other hand, this solidity attracts health. A healthy person doesn't want a parent or a servant. They want a partner. They want someone who has a self. As you become more defined, as you develop edges and borders, you become visible to a different frequency of people. People who respect boundaries because they have their own. But before you meet them, you must endure the clearing of the field. You must endure the time when the old actors leave the stage and the new ones haven't arrived. During this phase, your dreams may change. You may have vivid, disturbing dreams of houses burning, of tidal waves, of losing teeth, of death. Don't be afraid. These are archetypal images of transformation. The psyche is reorganizing. The house is the structure of your personality. It needs to burn to be rebuilt. The tidal wave is the unconscious emotion you suppressed. It needs to wash over you to cleanse. Losing teeth means losing the old way of biting into life, the loss of defensive mechanisms. Death is the death of the persona. Trust the night. Your soul is doing heavy construction while you sleep. You're also learning to tell the difference between compassion and pity. Pity looks down. Compassion looks across. Pity says, "You poor thing, let me save you." It maintains separation and a hierarchy. Compassion says, "I see your suffering. I honor the difficulty of your path. I trust you to walk it." Pity weakens the other. Compassion empowers them. You've spent years pitying the people you love, thinking it was compassion. You shielded them from the results of their actions because you thought they weren't strong enough to handle them. In doing so, you agreed with their weakness. You colluded with their smallness. True love demands we see the other as capable. By stepping back, you are voting for their strength. You are saying, "I believe you can handle your own life." Even if they fail, that failure is their property, their lesson, their gold. You have no right to steal it. This shift changes your relationship with time. In survival state, you lived in the immediate now of the crisis or the anxious future of prediction. You were rarely in the real now. As your nervous system settles, you begin to experience time differently. It slows. You can sit with coffee and just taste it, without plotting the next 3 moves on the chessboard. This ability to be present is the foundation of real intimacy. You can't be intimate with anyone if you're constantly scanning them for threats. You can only be intimate when you're safe enough to close your eyes and fall backward. But let's be precise. You aren't becoming safe because the world changed. You're becoming safe because you are becoming the container. In the past, you looked for safety in the approval of others. If they are happy, I am safe. Now you are building safety in your own capacity to handle discomfort. You are learning you can survive someone being angry with you. You are learning you can survive being misunderstood. You are learning you can feel lonely and not die. This self-trust is the only real security. It's the inner castle. It's the place inside you that doesn't depend on the weather report of someone else's mood. As this internal authority grows, you'll notice a change in your voice. Literally, your voice may drop. You'll speak slower. You'll stop ending your sentences with a question mark, seeking validation. You'll stop rushing to fill silence with nervous chatter. You'll get comfortable with the pause. Silence is a power move. In the past, you rushed to fill silence because it felt like disconnection. Now you use silence to let truth hang in the air. When someone lies to you, you don't argue. You look and stay quiet. Your silence becomes a mirror where they're forced to see themselves. This is the gaze of the integrated soul. It isn't aggressive, but it is penetrating. It says, "I see you, and I see myself, and I am not moving." You're moving from the archetype of the orphan, the one looking for a home, willing to pay any price for belonging, to the archetype of the sovereign. The sovereign doesn't beg for a seat at the table. The sovereign builds the table. The sovereign knows their kingdom is their own internal state. They guard the gates not out of cruelty, but out of sacred duty. They know if the kingdom is overrun by invaders, other people's chaotic emotions, they can be of no service to anyone. The sovereign rules with benevolence, but also with the sword of discernment. They know what to let in and what to keep out. This transition isn't a mental exercise. You can't think your way into it. It's a biological, cellular process. Your body is rewriting its code. You might have physical symptoms, strange aches, fatigue, appetite changes, heat in the spine. This is the nervous system resetting. You're burning off the cortisol addiction. You're learning to run on a cleaner fuel, the fuel of being, not doing. We must revisit repetition compulsion one last time from this new height. You were compelled to repeat the trauma because the psyche was trying to master it. You went back to the dry well, hoping this time there'd be water. You were trying to heal your childhood retroactively by fixing the current partner. But now you see the futility. You can't get water from a stone. And more importantly, you're no longer thirsty for that kind of water. You found your own well. The compulsion breaks not because you force it to stop, but because the illusion that fueled it has evaporated. You see the pattern for what it is, a hamster wheel, and you simply step off. Stepping off doesn't mean you stop loving your family or past partners. It means you love them from a distance that lets you breathe. It means you love them as they are, not as you need them to be to feel safe. And it means you love yourself enough to never again set yourself on fire to keep them warm. And so we arrive at integration. The dust settles. The dizziness of the change starts to fade, and you find yourself standing on a new plane of reality. You've walked through the fire of the family training. You've endured the withdrawal of your projections. You've sat in the void of the unlived self. And you've begun to build the inner backbone of authority. What does life look like now? It doesn't look like a fairy tale. It doesn't look like happily ever after, in the Disney sense, where all conflicts dissolve and everyone cheers your change. No, it looks like reality. But for the first time in your life, it is your reality. You're no longer living in the reactive echo chamber of someone else's psyche. You're living from your own center. The first thing you'll notice is a quality of weight. Not the weight of depression, which is a dragging down, but the weight of a mountain gravity. You have mass. In the past, you were weightless. You moved instantly to accommodate the slightest wind of another's mood. Now you are planted. If someone pushes against you, you don't immediately yield. You offer resistance. This resistance isn't hostile. It's simply the physics of existence. You occupy space. You have a yes and a no rooted in your own body, not in the fear of rejection. You'll find your empathy has changed its nature. It's no longer a flood that drowns you. It's a lens you can pick up and set down. You can still feel what others feel, perhaps even more clearly. But it doesn't invade you. You can sit with a grieving friend and offer deep presence without taking their grief to bed. You can witness anger without your nervous system triggering fight or flight. This is the difference between being a sponge and being a mirror. The sponge gets soggy and heavy with the dirt it wipes. The mirror reflects everything perfectly, but stays clear. You have become the mirror. This shift lets you be truly helpful for the first time. The help you gave before was often a frantic attempt to manage your own anxiety by fixing the other. It was, in truth, a selfish altruism. Now your help is clean. It's offered without strings, without the hidden contract of, I will save you, so you will love me. You can offer a resource, and if they refuse, you can walk away without feeling rejected. You can offer advice, and if they ignore it, you don't feel disrespected. You are detached from the outcome. This detachment is the highest form of love, because it respects the sovereignty of the other soul to make its own mistakes. Your relationship with your family, the origin of the training, will stabilize into a new form. It may not be the close, enmeshed bond you once fantasized about. It may be a distant, polite, respectful connection, or, in some cases, it may require a full stop of contact if the toxicity won't yield. But whatever form it takes, it will no longer control you. You will no longer go to the family well seeking water. You will go there perhaps to pay respects, to observe, but you bring your own canteen. You know who they are. You've accepted their limits. You've stopped trying to turn your mother into the mother she cannot be, or your father into the father he never was. You've grieved that loss, and in grieving, you've freed them to be just people, flawed, wounded, limited humans who were also victims of their own training. The chain of trauma stops with you. You'll notice a quietness in your life. The drama addicts have fallen away. The crises have reduced. You might have fewer friends, but the friendships you have are solid. They're based on mutual exchange, not one-way taking. You might spend more time alone, but you're no longer lonely. You've befriended yourself. You've befriended the shadow child, the part of you that was angry, selfish, needy. You've pulled that child from the basement and set a place for them at the table. You listen to your own needs with the same care you once gave strangers. If you're tired, you rest. If you're angry, you speak. If you have a desire, you follow it. You've become the parent you always needed. This internal sovereignty changes your vibration in the world. You're no longer broadcasting, please need me, please use me, please validate me. You're broadcasting, I am here, I am whole. I am open to connection, but I do not require it for my survival. This signal attracts a different caliber of experience. It attracts opportunities that honor your worth. It attracts partners looking for an equal, not a servant. It repels predators looking for a victim. You've learned the great lesson: the goal of life isn't perfection, but wholeness. You're not a saint. You're a human capable of light and dark, kindness and borders, love and withdrawal. You've reclaimed your shadow, and in doing so, you've reclaimed your power. The energy you used to spend suppressing your true self is now available for living. You have energy for creativity, for work, for joy, for simple existence. The gift of empathy, once a weapon used against you, is now truly yours. It's been retrieved from the battlefield of the family war. You've cleaned it. You've reshaped it. It's no longer a survival mechanism. It's an instrument of consciousness. You can use it to understand the world, to create beauty, to connect deeply, but always from the safety of your own skin. You're no longer the child waiting for permission. You're no longer the trainee in the program. You have graduated. The contract is broken. The debt is paid. You are free. If this truth resonated with you, help others find it by giving this video a like. And for more journeys into the self, subscribe to Winds of Thought.